Hey, what's up, wildlings? Listen, we all know about the PCT, the AT, the CDT, but in this video, I want to clue you in on 3 hikes you've probably never heard of. And at the end of this video, I'm going to show you how you can win $500 in free gear. Before we start, I'm Richard. I went on a bushwhack, crazy wild trip in Honduras about 12 years ago, and I nearly died because my gear absolutely sucked. Now, we make insanely durable and comfortable camping and hiking equipment. So be sure to lightly tap that like button down below and sub to our channel. On this channel, we talk about gear, the wild, living the good life in the outdoors, and a whole lot more. Now, let's dive into the 3 ultra hikes you've probably never heard of. In this video, we're going to talk about the Great Western Loop, which is 6,800 miles and absolutely insane. The 3 ultra through hikes you've probably never heard of, but you need to know. We're in a 3-part series going over these 3 iconic U.S. trails that are considered ultra through hikes because of the distance that you go in these hikes. Now, we've already talked about the American Discovery Trail. Go check that out in a different video that should pop up here. And we've already talked about the Eastern Continental Trail. Go check that out here. In this video, we're talking about the Great Western Loop Trail, an iconic trail for the West, 6,800 miles plus in continuous trail hiking, road traversing, everything you can think of, piecing together so many different iconic trails in the west of the United States. So let's dive into the Great Western Loop Trail. To start, over 6,800 miles on this route. It goes through so many different states. It connects so many different trails together, 12 national parks, 75 wilderness areas, the Mojave Desert, the Sonoran Desert. This is a huge endeavor. And I would say this is probably the most challenging because of the southern leg going from Southern Cal into Arizona through New Mexico. So challenging regards to water. Let's talk more about that. First, I want to give props and credit to Andrew Skurka. He is, I believe, the first person to complete this. He did it in 208 days, 6,800 miles in 208 days. He was an epic adventurer, still around, obviously, but in 2007, he was named the Adventurer of the Year, and I believe this was completed sometime in that region of time. So he did this, but 6,800 miles in this type of terrain would probably take about a year to complete, maybe even longer, knowing all of the different challenges that would lie ahead in this adventure. So what I wanted to do in this is just go through the iconic trails that this all touches, because it's actually really incredible the amount of trails that are connected to this particular conglomerate, the Great Western Loop. Obviously, the longest section of this trail is the iconic Pacific Crest Trail. Now, before I get too deep, I want to make sure that you guys love what we're talking about here. So drop me a comment below and let me know if you dig this. If you'd like to see me go deeper, I could probably spend a month talking about everything in the Great Western Loop. All of the different trails, the different scenic routes, the iconic monumental areas that you've got to spend some time in. Maybe we could talk about, like, how do you refuel? Where do you put your supplies? How do you schedule and manage something this massive? Lots to talk about, but let me know in the comments below if that is what you'd love for me to dive into. So the Pacific Crest Trail is basically going to take you from Canada to Mexico. I think it actually starts down here and it goes all the way up the west side of the United States. Now, the Pacific Crest is going to be the large kind of chunk of this hiking trail for the West Coast. Obviously, this crosses several different states in the PCT. You're also going to cross a lot of terrain change, which is really cool. You're going to go from desert to high desert to lush forests as you get up into the PNW. You're going to cross California, Oregon, and Washington on this hike. It's going to be quite extensive. This is no joke. 2,650 miles from Mexico to Canada. That is a big chunk of land that you're going to be traversing. Some of these places are absolutely insane regarding the views, vistas, and just breathtaking images that you're going to walk away with on this PCT hike. I have done a portion of this, but I have not completed the PCT. It is on my list of things to do. Maybe you and I share that goal. This is definitely something that I want to accomplish while I am here. Pretty incredible. I really love the PNW. The amount of lush forest that is up there, tied to tall mountains. You've got Rainier, you've got Olympus, and you've got a lot of different large mountains with ice caps and mostly snow cap year round that you'll have access to and visually enjoy along the journey. Next, we're going to connect and move east along the Canadian border, basically. The Pacific Northwest Trail spans about 1,200 miles. It goes through Washington, Idaho, and Montana. It's going to start on the west coast and go all the way over to the Continental Divide. It's going to take you about an average 75 days. I forgot to mention, by the way, PCT is going to take at least 5 months, 5 to 6 months for the PCT. The Pacific Northwest Trail, 75 days. You're going to span Washington, a small little section in Idaho, and you're going to go through about half of Montana. This is 1,200 miles, so no short blink of an eye distance there. Pretty crazy, but this connects the westernmost portion of the trail and gets you east enough to where you can now take the Continental Divide Trail. The Continental Divide Trail is actually longer than the PCT. It is 3,028 miles spanning from Canada to Mexico in this case. Now, the cool thing about it is it actually does follow the Continental Divide. Now, the divide, obviously, is the place where when a drop of rain hits on the west side of the Rockies, it falls into the Pacific Ocean. When a drop of rain hits on the right side, it falls into the Mississippi River and goes down into the Gulf. So pretty interesting that there's a trail that literally goes through that entire spine from Mexico all the way to Canada. You're going to travel through Montana, right along the border of Idaho, into Wyoming, Colorado, New Mexico, and then you'll hit another trail to kind of complete this Great Western Loop. But 3,028 miles takes an average of 5 months. We're already at a year, okay? And we haven't even got the final leg of this trip yet. It is definitely going to give you some breathtaking views. Look at these massive landscapes that you're going to enjoy, especially in the Montana, Wyoming, and Colorado areas. Now, New Mexico is going to get a lot more dry and arid desert feeling, but pretty incredible in the northern part. Here's a little brief snapshot of what the CDT is and how it basically got its name and where it goes. Now, one of the things that's pretty interesting to me is that, okay, so here it is. Waters may flow either to the Arctic Ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, or the Pacific Ocean. Okay, so I forgot the Arctic is considered in this, actually. Hudson Bay, which would be where it would go in towards the Arctic area. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. So we're looking at Chihuahua. Hope that's right. Mexico and Alberta, Canada. And this is going to be well over 3,000 miles. 3,000 miles. Actual hiking distance, 2,700 miles to 3,150. So one of my sources is 3028. The other source here we've got is anywhere from 2,700 to 3,150. I'm guessing there's some route changes along the way. Drop in the comments if you want me to find out where those route changes are. Next, we have almost the last trail. We're getting very close. The Grand Enchantment Trail. So this is going to pick up at the Continental Divide end, and it's going to take you all the way back over to Arizona. Now, this is going to give you, it's going to be challenging with water. It's a very dry climate, but the landscape is incredible. I'm sure you have seen these type of pictures before, but this is what you can expect to enjoy when you're going through the Enchantment Trail. Huge desert landscapes, dry, cactus, just ruthless terrain that is going to give you some great rewards. Look at this sunset coming over those little mountain outcrops. So you got to hit this. This is like super iconic. You're going to cross through Arizona and New Mexico here. It's about 770 miles, so no small stretch, okay? That's a big chunk of trail, and it usually is going to take about 2 months. So we're a little bit over a year now, and we're just now finishing up with Arizona. The Grand Enchantment, 770 miles. It's between Phoenix and Albuquerque. It's going to cross the Arizona Trail. The Continental Trail is actually attached to it, and it actually meets the Rio Grande, and the El Camino, and I'm guessing those are two primary water sources for you while you are on this hike. Now, obviously, there's going to be more water sources, but these will be places that you want to spend some time and actually camp, enjoy, see the sights related to the Rio Grande and the El Camino. Finally, the last leg of this journey, the Arizona Trail. So this is going to get you back over and basically reconnect you to the PCT. Now, this is going to span through Arizona. It's about 800 miles, takes 2 months to complete. It's the same deal. Look at these desert landscapes here. Really incredible. Just such a diverse experience in this trail. The Great Western Loop really touches all parts of our climate in the western part of the United States. Pretty phenomenal. All right, so the Arizona Trail. The Arizona Trail is basically going to take you into the Kaibab Plateau region. That's where it's going to end up, right up along the border there. And it's designed for primitive camping, hiking, equestrian, mountain biking, skiing. What an amazing amount of things you can actually do on this trail. All right, those are the trails that actually involved in going from, I guess technically, you would have a starting point and you would just take this all the way up to PCT, the PNT, Continental Divide, the Great Enchantment Trail, and then the Arizona Trail. What a journey. I mean, look at all the different things that you're going to experience along the way. You've got super arid, dry desert. You've got the high Sierras. You've got the incredible lush forests of the PNW up in Oregon and Washington. You've got Idaho and Wyoming and Montana giving you some incredible big mountain rocky views. Colorado, the same, offering the same vistas there, and snaking all the way back down through Mexico. That trail is insane. I don't think there are very many people that have completed this, which is probably why it's not a very well-known trail. It is an incredible endeavor to do this all in one go. Now, I would say this. Here's the gear I would take on this trip. I would have to reconfigure my setup because usually I'm trying to camp in the air. But because there's two huge portions of this trail, you've got the southern leg and the northern leg. And so what I'm calling the southern leg is this, probably about right there. This is the southern leg, and then everything else is northern and southern. So I'm splitting it up in two different legs. Now, when you're through hiking, most people think, if you've never done a through hike before, that you're probably thinking, oh man, I got to take everything. But the good thing about it is there's so many places along the trail that you can actually plan gear changes. And so you can set up beforehand, before you start, you can set up your gear changes and ship your gear to those locations so that when you arrive, you have supplies. Obviously, you're doing this with food, but you can also do it with your gear. You want repair kits. You want different equipment based on the terrain that you're on. I love camping in the air because it's so much more comfortable. But on this trip, I would be using a tarp for most of the journey in the southern leg. Number one, it doesn't rain much. I'm going to use a tarp because I want a little bit of extra protection just in case, but I'll stay super light with that. And I just need my pad and a good top quilt. Now the top quilt's key, and I'm going to later talk about Ember, which is also key, because the High Sierra Desert can get extremely cold at night, even if it's very warm in the daytime and let's say you're hiking in the spring, summer, fall time frame for the most part. So what I would say is, I would go with a tarp. I would go with the truckers so I could set it up on the ground. And then you've got the Inferno top quilt, which I love because it doesn't have any zippers. Like for me, zippers always kill the deal. And so this top quilt, ultra light, ultra compact, going to be really great for this kind of through hike. I'd go with a 30 degree. And then I would use obviously the AirPad XL. I like not skimping on comfort. That's a personal thing. Some people want to just use the foam pads. I get it, but that's not me. I also use a really plush pillow. I've found that sleeping really well on the trail can really give you an edge, give you an advantage, help you hit those daily mile counts that you want to get. And so I don't skip on comfort. You'll see the 3+ inch pad is going to keep me comfy. You'll see that this is like 6 inches of plush pillow. I'm just going to sleep like I do in my bed with these pieces of gear. Sport Chop, just standard tool right here for multi-tool and eating out of meal bags and so forth. I would always take some sort of solar panel system so that you could recharge your phone, your power pack. This is the solar system. This is a modular kit that we created. And then we have our power pack UL, that's a USB-C power pack. I would strongly suggest carrying this to be able to recharge your phone. You just can't go wrong with having a GPS, a camera, a video camera, and a point of communication all in one device. Your phone, you're going to need extra power. You're going to have spans that are 6 days plus between checkpoints. So you definitely want to have some form of extra power and conserve that, recharge that with your solar system. And I always, as a security measure, when I'm hiking in anything that's like the high Sierras or the desert areas, because of the temperature changes that you'll see, the massive fluctuations, I always take something similar to what I've got here, the Ember pullover. Now, we've only had this out for about a year, and so I just recently was able to add it into my pack. But the Ember gives you the ability to have kind of a backup plan, if you will, for heat and wearable warmth. There's also rain protection built into this, and it's just going to keep you much more comfortable, especially if you're hiking outside of the heat of the day. In the evening times, you're going to want this during those cooler months on either side of the summer. And it just is really nice to be able to just push a button, turn the heat on, and be able to add to your insulation system as far as the temperature rating goes. So that's the gear I would take on this trip. What a trip it will be one day when I do a portion of this. I can't say that I'll ever be able to take off all the time at once to do the whole Great Western Loop, but definitely chunks, the PCT and the CDT, are going to get completed. So if you want to see more about the Great Western Loop, just drop a comment below and let me know, and I will dive in deeper in another video. Hey, listen, if you hate getting rained out or being freezing cold, or maybe you just don't like being uncomfortable when you're in the wild, you're not alone. We've been helping wildlings sleep better outside for over 10 years now. If you want to try our gear out absolutely free, just click below and go to our website. Or you can hit that sub button and we'll send you something special through the YouTube algorithm. Now, about that free gear, if you go down below, there will be a link in the description. Click that, and you can enter to win $500 worth of Sierra Madre gear this month, absolutely free. All right, stay comfy, wildlings. I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.